Good afternoon. We will call to order the special meeting of the Citizens Oversight Committee, Measure O General Obligation Bonds. Today is Monday, February 28th. It looks like 3:02 p.m. Let's do a roll call, please.
Committee Member Hines.
Here.
Committee Member Saunders.
Here.
Committee Member Paul Russell.
Here.
Committee Member Quaihoy. Here. Committee Member Thomas Russell.
Here.
Vice Chair Souza. Here. Chair Pito.
Here. Great. So we have more than enough for a quorum. Thank you for that. Do we have any public comments at this time?
We do not.
Great, thank you. Well, let's move on our agenda. Item number 1 is approval of the minutes. Before we proceed, are there any questions, comments, or revisions on the attached minutes?
From December 16th.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppositions? None? Great. Looks like the motion carries. Minutes have been approved as presented by staff. Let's move on to item number 2, which is the financial update. I'll turn it over to staff.
Good afternoon, Chair Beethwell, Vice Chair Souza, and members of the committee. If you can give me 1 minute, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so here on the screen, I'm showing the item number 2 of our agenda packet. This afternoon, I'll be presenting to you today the financial update of Measure O. And this update will encompass fiscal year 20 as well as fiscal year 21. Within the agenda packet, you'll see that there are 4 attachments. The first attachment is the fiscal year 20 audited financial report for Measure O. The second attachment is the fiscal year 20 expenditure report. The third attachment is the fiscal year 21 Measure O audit report. And the fourth is the fiscal year 21 expenditure report. As you might be aware, on an annual basis, the city is required to have an annual financial audit conducted by an independent auditor. And our independent auditor is Ide Bailey. They review the city's internal controls and the financial statements that we present to them. And at the conclusion of the audit, they issue a financial statement as well as their opinion on the financial statements that we present to them. In our case with Measure O for both fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21, the auditors issued an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, in that they did not identify any material misstatements within the financial statements that we provided to them as it pertains to Measure O. I do want to take the opportunity to also dive into the numbers a little bit more as well. And so I will be scrolling over to our expenditure detail report, which shows in detail the expenditures that we incurred in both fiscal year 20 as well as fiscal year 21. So that will be attachment 2 of item 2.
Any questions thus far for staff?
Okay, so for fiscal year 20, for our capital projects fund for Measure O, we incurred a total of $273,000 in expenditures. Of that amount, $176,000 was for salaries and benefits for our senior project manager. There are other design costs as well. As you can see, we had a $33,000 expenditure for topographic ground survey. There were some expenditures for the design phase of both the police building as well as library improvements and other miscellaneous costs. Within the debt service fund, we incurred only an administrative fee for the county. The county charges the city an administrative fee to place a property assessment on the property tax roll. And for fiscal year 20, we incurred a charge of $1,500 out of the debt service fund. Moving on to fiscal year 21, out of our capital projects fund, we incurred $1.57 million in expenditures. Just about $100,000 was due to personnel costs for city staff. And the remaining $1.4 million was mainly due to the design phase of the police building as well as library improvements. And so within this this attachment, you'll see a breakdown of the vendors and the total amounts that we incurred per vendor. And since the inception of Measure O, thus far we've incurred just $1.75 million between fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21.
Chair, I think we have some questions.
Yes. Chief.
Yes, when I looked at the 1920, we had 250, whatever, about $200,000, and that included both professional and capital. Now, this second one seems to exclude the professional, or otherwise it'd be 1.8 million something. In other words, if you add 1.5 million and 200 and some odd thousand.
Are you referring to the capital project expenditures or the debt
No,
service?
they have a line at the bottom of this that says 1.749 million.
Yes.
And when I add those numbers up, I get 1.846249 million. The capital expenditures for 2020, 2021 seems to be excluded from that total expenditures number.
That might just be a typo, so my apologies if that is the typo. I'll double check right now.
Okay, it's just nice if everything adds up.
I'm sorry, staff, but this got audited and didn't get caught?
The attachment 2 and attachment 4 are actually reports that are prepared by staff, and that was my error in the typo, but the audit reports are what the auditors prepare.
Okay.
So in a total across the 2 years, the total of all Measure O expenditures would indeed equal 1.84 1.846 million. If you take the two in total, under, let's see, under page of 14, which again shows the detailed expenditure reports that were prepared in internally. The 2-year total didn't take into account, it appears, the personnel expenses. It doesn't change the report. We just need to correct the 2-year total instead there.
Yes, any other questions or comments from the committee?
I've got a question. Would it be possible for us, I'm looking at these as expenditures. Do we have planned budget elements to this so I can compare what we're budgeting for versus what we're spending? Just to have a comparison if we're high or low.
We can certainly get what we project to expend under each cost type. Under our approved CIP, we show a certain amount either for design, construction, also for personnel expenses. It'll give you it will give you a broad category. It may not have you the precise and detailed cost type that you would want to see to compare the expenses against. But I will also point to the activities and a role of the council to both approve and also confirm that we do stay under budget for the project. The role of the oversight committee in this case is to confirm that the expenses that did occur were for a appropriate purpose per the terms and conditions of the bond. But we can certainly get you that extra detail as well.
Let me elaborate a little bit on my question. It extends to that. When I look at it's all about fiscal responsibility. When I look at a project, and let's just take the $750,000 LPA. There was a scope that was agreed to. There was a deliverable from the vendor. And then there was a project, the project review confirmed that the deliverable matched to the scope. I'm just presuming that. Is there some reference to that is available to look at? And I don't want to extend past the Measure O responsibility, but if we're looking at and verifying a $750,000 expense, I'd like to see some reference to the original scope, the deliverable that's been created, and the project manager staff, city staff verification of that. Maybe you've already presented it to city council, maybe it's in some document somewhere that if you can just point us to it in some way.
The things that I think could be helpful is to give them a group copies of the different copies of the different contracts for each of the different consultants and stuff here. Under those contracts, you will indeed see a scope. It will also contain the cost that was approved to be spent or whatever is the purpose. I think that could potentially address that question.
Well, it would, but I suspect that that's about a 100-page document that you need a civil engineer degree to read and review. So that would have the data. I absolutely agree, staff, and Will, good point on that. But there needs to be some summary evaluation that I, as a committee member, can review from the project manager that says, yes, it did. I have to believe you have that, just to be able to present it when, when there's a line item in here, $750,000. I don't know what the threshold, I don't care about the $200, but, at some point, there needs to be some information available for that.
I will talk to our public works department. I'm confident that they do possess that type of information. Although you may not want to go through the whole contract, under each contract, we're also able to just pull out the scope of the contract and also the expected cost. It's typically 1 to 2 or more page attachment under each contract. And I think that also would help so that you don't need to go through the whole contract as well.
Yeah, and I don't want to judge from a project management of what Public Works is doing. I just want to be able to see that there's been an evaluation of it. When we get to the point that we'll be able to see things, then I think I saw that in there to be able to do tours or something like that. But this is actually the design phase. It's more of a virtual or design document. So that would be great to be able to get that. Well, thank you.
I was wondering if we could get some sort of a percentage completion to compare pricing. So looking at these numbers, they don't tell me what we've accomplished this far. So is it a 30, 60% design completion? Or so if we can get a percent completion, that would be great.
And I believe that we also are able to get that. From everything that I know, for each of the two projects to date, we're either at or above a 65% design, but we'll confirm that, then also get the detail as well.
Great. Any other questions or comments from the committee members? These are all great observations and comments. And what I appreciate is each committee member is asking good questions and recognizing the limits and boundaries that we have as a committee vis-a-vis the role of the council and staff in approving and reviewing expenditures and making sure they're consistent with the bond of Measure O. So I appreciate everybody's comments in that regard. Yeah. Any other questions, comments before we turn it back to staff? If staff doesn't have any other comments or concerns, this is the point in time we can be open for a motion to accept staff's recommendation or presentation of the expenditures thus far as presented.
I just want to make one comment that it says that I was attending from my house. I want to just make sure it shows that I'm attending here. So, thank you.
Yep, we'll have the notes reflect your participation in person. Thank you for that, Committee Member Hines. Can we have a motion to, can we have a motion, please, to accept staff's presentation and report?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the presentation by staff of an audited Measure O financial reports and expenditure detail reports.
Is there a second?
A second.
Roll call, please.
Committee Member Hines,
Yes.
Committee Member Saunders,
Yes.
Committee Member Paul Russell,
Yes.
Committee Member Quaihoy,
Yes.
Committee Member Thomas Russell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Souza,
Yes.
Chair Bito.
Yes. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you to staff. Let's move on to item number 3, the annual report presentation. At this time, I'll turn it back to staff to frame the issue for us.
All right, so again, a core responsibility of the Measure O Oversite Committee. It's to prepare a report that would go to council each year to determine and state whether the Measure O bond proceeds were spent upon appropriate purposes. When we met in December, you were also given a report, a template that was prepared by a bond council with Jones Hall. We've included the report template under the agenda. It's a report template that would make that a purpose should the committee choose choose to use it. It can be also adjusted for each year to include the specific details that you would want to show. But I'll just pull it up here. But it's also in the agenda as well. Let me just give me 1 second on that. Can I also share the
Yeah,
screen as well?
we're trying.
Or if you want.
Not giving me, oh, you know why? Let me, hold on.
That's okay. We'll
Yeah, reclaim
take
host. Hold on.
care of
Thank
it
you.
over
One
here.
second. Got it. Here you go.
Thank you. All right, so again, it's a template that's been prepared by our bond council. It could be useful and helpful to take this template, but also adjust it for the specific details that the group would want to show. I see three potential choices, three potential approaches to prepare the report that the committee may want to discuss today. Option one would be to discuss the report today, potentially adjust the template to show what you would want to present to a council, and then schedule the a date that you would take the report to a council. I would only take that approach if you were comfortable that you did have all of the reports and all of the data that you would want to say to put together the report to a council. Based upon what I've heard, what I've heard so far, is that there's some additional data and reports that will come your way based upon your request. So I would recommend that we don't adjust and prepare the report today, but instead that up to three people from the committee work to prepare a draft. Work to prepare a draft of the report that we hate again to go through and confirm the draft. That would then also give us some time to pull on the additional data and reports together. There's no hard date or a deadline to present your report to council. It only needs to be done once per year. But there's no a deadline. So I would recommend that again, up to 3 people work to prepare the draft. We can schedule a date again to go through the draft, say in March, and then tentatively present the report to council in either April or May. So there are again 2 potential approaches. Either work to prepare and discuss the report today, then take that report straight to council, or option 2 is to get them up to 3 people to prepare the draft made again, confirm the report, and then take that report to council.
Great. So if I understand from staff, we have before us 3 alternatives to produce a very important annual report to the public, which is one of our core charter responsibilities. One option is to using the template that's before us, prepared by our bond counsel, is since we're all here together, is using this template to produce a report now. But given that earlier on, some members have expressed a desire for more information and clarity, we're moving away from that option. And so another option is to select up to 3 members of this body to meet offline and collectively prepare this annual report. And then from there, we have 2 options. Either we come back to this body for vetting and one more approval, and then an alternative to that is go directly to council for approval or adoption by the council. If I summarize that properly?
Yes, you have.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
So I will turn it back to the committee. Are there, is there interest in doing this offline? And number 2, are there 3 members, no more than 3, that would like to volunteer to serve and work with staff offline in pursuit of the drafting the annual report?
So the way I was looking at this is that we've already approved these reports that were presented to us. We're just suggesting the next time that we have additional information provided to us to help us with that decision. So I'm not sure if we have to ask you to go out and do extra. Just like next time, I'd like to see the numbers, percentage of completion related to the project. So at least we have some context to what we're looking at. I'd agree with that assessment.
Great. So it sounds like there's comfort by the committee members just to proceed with the numbers presented thus far by staff. So again, is there comfort with just?
I'd like to make a suggestion though with board member Saunders pointed out some discrepancies in the numbers that we agree on the report with a correction of the numbers that board member Saunders pointed out.
Great. I think if I understand the request by committee member Hines is that we just recognize that staff will reconcile those numbers for future reports. We recognize that these numbers have already been audited professionally by a professional auditor. And that we just, moving forward, we just, make those minor clarifications.
What Board Member Saunders pointed out was that the information presented to us didn't add up.
Correct.
And so that needs to be corrected. I
Yeah.
would say that, well, let's agree on the report to council with the modification to correct the numbers.
Correct. Yeah. Great. Okay, so hearing all of the comments, I'm sorry, hearing all those comments, it looks like we're prepared to at least take a stab at drafting the annual report. Given the templates, it's only one page before us. Can we proceed? Does that, I'm seeing some nods? Okay, let's roll up our sleeves and do it. Yeah.
First point, we need to correct the spelling of Campbell in the top.
Yes, we will get that corrected as well. Thank you. So the key things are really if you use this template, it's to fill in the dates that you've met. And then also if you go down a bit, if you were to do say a tour, it also would be to put down the a date that tour occurred. But in this case, we are again still only under a design. We expect by the time that you meet to prepare this report in a year again, that there will be some construction as well. So if you did want to do a tour when that construction were to occur, it's also a choice, and then also a thing that we would state under this report. But in terms of the report template itself, based upon the way it's written, it just confirms that you agree that the expenditures that have occurred to a date for both fiscal years 20 and 21, that they conform to the purposes of the bond. The thing that you will also see on your desk under page 2, it's the measure ordinance, and under page 2, it will give out the detailed purpose of how expenditures how of what we are able to spend upon. But other than that, there's not a lot to this particular there's not a lot to this particular report, a template. You could certainly choose to put in additional detail. But the key components are quick.
Again, just for my, if I may, for my own personal clarification, given, so 2 fiscal years have elapsed since measure was adopted, and is it staff's recommendation that we can, in one report, cover 2 fiscal years? So in other words, would the title of this report be for fiscal years 00 and 01?
Based upon what's been spent to date, you could put it together all under one. The bonds weren't the bonds weren't issued until fiscal year 21. Any expenses that occurred in fiscal year 20 were first spent from our own funds, and then reimbursed by the fund. And alternative is just to do one report for each year. I believe it would be okay to go either way. To keep it all apart, it could also be best just to do 2. But I'll leave it up to the group. So
I'm just relieved that we're not obligated to present an annual report in fiscal year 00 since there was no expenditure of funds in that year 1. And so I'm just sensitive to the ballot language that did require an annual report of this body, but it does make sense. There were no expenditures in year 1. And now that year 2 has passed or is passing or has passed, we are producing our first annual report. So I thank you for clarifying that. So with that, in terms of the title on the blanks, should it be 2020-21? So we'll get some nods. Yep. Okay. And in terms of the introductory paragraph, I think it looks fine as is. The public meetings, if staff would like to insert our December meeting and this February meeting, both locations being the City Hall. And the language regarding the Brown Act, I think that's fine. City support that language looks fairly generic and fine. And with respect to activities, review of expenditures, I think we have been and are doing that. And that second part, review of city's annual report. The city provided the COC with a copy of that finance director's annual bond report. No irregularities or concerns were identified in the annual report. With the caveat offline that there is a request to just reconcile the numbers in going forward. And I think staff member Fuentes did mention or explain the tour of the bond facilities and the relevance of that as construction proceeds. So I don't know if we have to concern ourselves with that paragraph at all. And then in our conclusion, I think it looks satisfactory for me. I'd like to open it up to the rest of the committee members for input.
Yeah, I'd say we just take the if applicable paragraph out for this. version.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And again, this template has been provided by our bond counsel as the minimum requirements required by law. And, but staff has also invited us to insert any additional language, meaningful language that is still consistent with law to add to this. But I think this appears to be satisfactory within the four corners of this document. So would it be appropriate for us to solicit a second or a motion to approve this template with the fiscal year 2021 added, the meeting dates that we just mentioned, and the location, and the deletion of the if applicable paragraph? With those edits that I just summarized, is there a motion to approve this annual report with the changes that we made? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. That's an excellent summary with the comments the chair made.
Wait, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
So the motion is made and seconded. Can we get a roll call, please?
Committee Member Hines,
Yes.
Committee Member Saunders,
Yes.
Committee Member Paul Russell,
Yes.
Committee Member Doris Quaihoy,
Yes.
Committee Member Thomas Russell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Souza,
Yes.
Chair Bito.
Yes. So that matter is approved, and thank you for that. Next item of business is our scheduling our meeting date with the city council. Turn it over to staff to guide us on that.
All right, and I also would like to thank the committee for both the great questions, but also just taking the time to put the report together. In terms of taking this to a council, I would propose that just based upon the timing of when we need to get things onto the council agenda, that there's some group takes their report to council in April. It could be either on April the 5th or also April the 19th. He will put the draft report and also the agenda topic together based upon what we heard today from the group. We'll also lend out a copy of it to the group just to confirm that everything that's been prepared is correct based upon what we heard today. But we would again recommend that the report be taken to council in April on either April the 5th or April the 19th, based upon what the group would prefer. I would also recommend that at least the chair attend to present it to a council, but you certainly all may attend. And also offer your uh, comments to council as well.
Well, thank you, staff. And if I may add, I would certainly encourage all members of the committee members to attend that council meeting for the benefit of the council members to know and familiarize themselves with this committee and vice versa. And with that in mind, I wanted to ask staff, do we know yet if this item would be presented under consent or new business or?
It could be either way, but I would recommend that it be under a new, just to ensure it's a fully open and transparent. So yes, I would recommend that it be under a new business.
Well, thank you for that. So it sounds like the answer to the question, when would this be brought forward to the council for approval? It looks like sometime in April, and staff will give us a heads up, I'm sure in March, to give us adequate notice so that we can, as many of us can attend that meeting and as part of the presentation, do sort of a brief meet and greet with the council. I know that the mayor was here for our inaugural meeting, but I'm sure the rest of the council would be happy to meet each of us.
In terms of a date, is there a date that the group would prefer?
And Director Francis, is City Hall back open for in-person public meetings? So I'm just going to open, my calendar. So council still meets on the first and third Tuesday night at 7:30. First Thursday, Tuesday is the 5th. I'll be out of town.
That's the week Moreland has.
Right. The 19th is full blown open for myself, but we have a vice chair in case there's a consensus to meet on the 5th. But as my colleague just mentioned, yeah, that week, I think some school districts are off.
I'm open to both dates.
Either is fine for me.
I'm going to be there both days, so it doesn't matter.
So if I think staff has a good sense of it. Good chunk of us are available on the 19th, with maybe at least the majority of us will be there on the 5th, if that's the chosen date.
All right, so I believe that the choice of the group is on April the 19th. I will work to confirm it, just to confirm that it doesn't conflict with any other council reports, but it should be okay, and I'll work to confirm that stuff date. The only thing that you would need to do today is just to make a motion and go from there.
Great. So at this time, is there a motion to have the date to present our annual report on April 19th, Tuesday?
So moved.
Second.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Committee Member Hines,
Yes.
Committee Member Saunders,
Yes,
Committee Member Paul Russell,
Yes.
Committee Member Quaihoy,
Yes.
Committee Member Thomas Russell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Souza,
Yes.
Chair Bito.
Yes. So that motion passes unanimously. Thank you for that. And our last item of business is scheduling our next meeting. I'll turn it over to staff.
So again, the primary purpose of this oversight committee it's to prepare the report to council once per year. But you are also able again to do tours. You're also able to meet up to once per a quarter to either get updates from the staff or also to convene to discuss any other purpose that relates to the roles and responsibilities of the committee that are detailed under the bylaws. Because we're because you're going to take your report to council in April, we would recommend that you at least meet again towards the end of January of 23, so that we're able to again present the expenditures, the macro reports. They're typically prepared in December, and that would have time to put those reports together and also get them over to you. But again, you also could choose to meet in between. I would recommend that you at least pick a date in the end of January of 2023, and then if the need and desire comes up, we also could schedule. We also could schedule anything in between as well.
No, thank you for that. So two things, and then I'd like to turn it over to my colleagues. I appreciate the suggestion that we schedule our next annual meeting to be in January, which is a month after when year-end financial reports are completed and presumably audited. So I know we attempted to schedule something this last January, but our holiday schedules didn't line up. So if that's something we can do now, identify a January date, and we plan our holidays for next year around that, I think that'd be great. But what I would be really thrilled, what staff just mentioned, is the potential to have a tour of the existing library and police facilities in the conditions that they currently are and what's being proposed. I would certainly accept an invitation for a guided tour, but I'll follow with what the rest of the members.
I agree, certainly, Chair. The before and after picture, that's it'd be great to be able to get that.
Yeah, I think that would be great as well. And I'm since the next report that will be due to the council is for the fiscal year that ends this coming June. I'm trying to remember the construction timeline. I think it's supposed to start sometime in summer of 2022. So I wonder if construction has commenced before June 30th, 2022, it may be good to schedule a tour of that so that in our report for the next fiscal year, we can include that we were able to see a tour of the construction of some of the bonded facilities. But that's up to staff, I guess, on the timeline. I'm not 100% sure what it is.
Yeah, I would support that. And maybe if it's appropriate, having language in the upcoming annual report to say that while we didn't tour in the past, we have one scheduled coming up for this current calendar year.
So in regards to tours, we'll check with the public works department, see when could be some potential good dates from now on until when construction were to commence. It shouldn't be that difficult for the library. It'll be a little bit more difficult for police, only because you first need to be cleared, just due to the sensitive nature of the different records that are contained in the police department. But we'll also work we'll work on the logistics of that. If there's any things that you need to complete, so that you're able to pay cleared, we'll also get that over to you. And we can do say a total poll, just to pick a few dates and stuff there as well.
So is there a desire by this body to at least identify a January 2023 date for our next meeting? And if there is, perhaps we can have something a week or two after the New Year's holiday, yet be mindful of the Martin Luther King holiday. So sounds like maybe the second Monday or fourth Monday of January. If
23rd or 30th.
I was thinking if we can identify a date now, would certainly help staff scheduling too.
Either of those dates would be okay from our perspective as well.
Yeah, the 30th is wide open on my calendar, as well as the 23rd.
Same with mine, either would work.
Yep, me too.
Is the 9th too close to the New Year's? Yep, I'm seeing a nod. Yeah, okay. So 23rd and the 30th is on the table. Is there a preference for the latter? Okay. Yeah. All right, let's we'll lock in the 30th, 3 o'clock. Does that seem to work for folks? Okay, all right. This doesn't need a vote, does it? It's more administrative.
It should. I mean,
Okay.
just to
Yeah.
be
Yep.
I
consistent.
move that we meet on January 30th, 2023 at 3 p.m.
Wait, is there a second?
Second.
Great. Roll call, please.
Committee Member Hines,
Aye.
Committee Member Saunders,
Aye.
Committee Member Paul Russell,
Aye.
Committee Member Quaihoy,
Aye.
Committee Member Thomas Russell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Souza,
Yes.
Chair Pito.
Aye, and that motion approves unanimously. And the one last housekeeping was the tour. Was staff going to just do a doodle poll for us? And to look at police and
Yes,
library?
yes. We'll try to get out a poll hopefully in the next 2 weeks. I just need to confirm with a PD what they would need to do to allow people to go through. But I'll work to get it over to the group in the next 2 weeks.
And also given that I know the small quarters of the dispatch center, if we need to bifurcate our group into two, we can certainly be open to that, I would imagine. Otherwise, I know the offices are crammed in PD.
And then the thing that we would also need to do too is to post it. So to post the date, time, and location that you tour, just to conform to the Brown Act as well.
Great, yeah, if it's determined by staff that there's a risk of violating the Brown Act, we'll certainly post that, but my sense is we will not be conducting business during this tour. It's more of a tour inspection. I don't think we'll be discussing any business items at that time. So my sense is we may not need posting requirements, but I'll defer to staff. So with that in mind, I think we've come to the end of our agenda. I think it was a great discussion today. The time is 4:08, and looks like this meeting is adjourned unless there are any comments or concerns from the other committee members. Thank you very much.